Hello, I'm Emily Barnes. Welcome to my presentation for the Leaves of Southwell Discovery Garden at Southwell Minster. Firstly, I'm going to talk about the project. I'm going to explore the brief and the current site in the current garden. I'll then move on to talk about the design and the inspiration behind my design for the new garden and the different aspects of the new design. And then I will show a few photographs of a 3D model that I made, which will just give a clearer view of what the new garden would be like to move around in as a little tiny person. The area to be converted to the new Discovery Garden can be seen in the images on screen. Historically, it was used as a paddock for the bishop's horses. Today, it is mostly unused except for occasional events, such as weddings and music festivals. The site is quite overgrown, especially under the trees, and is currently a place for dumping garden waste and spoil from the recently developed neighbouring education garden. It contains a large area of central lawn with numerous mature trees around the perimeter, giving it an enclosed woodland feel. There are a few very large specimen trees, such as oak and sweet chestnut, which make lovely features. The garden is accessed from the Education Garden, which is a formal garden just behind the Minster, and by vehicle from the Bishop's Drive Road, which can be seen in the first picture. There is a wonderful view of the Minster through the trees, which can be seen in image 2. My brief for the project was to create a discovery trail garden linking back to the stone leaf carvings found in the chapter house of Southwell Minster, which can be seen in the photographs on this slide. The garden must also be a place which is accessible for all, including the local community and wider community such as gardening groups and visitors. And above all, it must provide examples, living examples of the plants which are used for the carvings within the chapter house and information about those plants. I'm now going to talk about the design, including more detail on the aspects of the garden. One of the first things that struck me about the site when I first visited was its beautiful trees and natural tranquil atmosphere. It was something I was keen to keep and enhance through my design. I was largely inspired by the work of historic garden designer Lancelot Capability Brown, who specialised in creating naturalistic English landscapes. His designs feature large expanses of grass, serpentine lakes, specimen trees, and shelter belts of trees which surround the site's perimeter. I felt his work lent itself perfectly to the site at the Minster and utilised many of its good qualities. I also took inspiration from the huge earth amphitheatre at National Trust property Claremont, which was designed in the 1700s by Charles Bridgman. It is surrounded by an avenue of trees set with woodland behind and is the largest of its kind in Europe. I wanted this amphitheatre to become the main focal point at the Minster Garden, set in the centre, which could be used for events such as musical festivals and theatre evenings, as well as being a great place to sit, picnic, and where children could play. It would also make a fantastic feature, encouraging people to visit the Minster Garden from far and wide, and provide excellent views of the Southwell Minster from the centre of the garden. As the brief requires living examples of the leaf carvings found in the chapter house, I needed to provide climbing supports for some of the specimens such as vine and hop. I decided a green tunnel-like effect provided by a pergola walkway over the path would be perfect for this. I also liked the idea of an ivy-covered learning pavilion settled in an area of woodland to be used for school children or tourist groups. It would provide the perfect, exciting learning environment. And here is my drawing for the final design of the Discovery Garden. The main feature of the design is the earth amphitheatre which dominates the centre. It's made from the earth spoil from the paths, existing soil which was left over from the Education Garden, and a bit of imported soil too. It's finished with turf and creates a lovely place to sit and be entertained. It also creates a great place to view the whole garden from on different levels, and is a wonderful place for children to play. It has views directly towards the Minster, and so when watching any entertainment, the impressive Minster will always be in the backdrop. It creates a focal point as you approach the garden, and is centred with a large formal lawn which ripples away from a central circle. There is space here for marquees, ice cream vans and stalls, etc. to be placed on event days, and plenty of access for vehicles. An avenue of field maples stands behind the semicircle of the amphitheatre, and they are one of the plants featured in the chapter house, and they help to blend the formality of the amphitheatre and lawn to the woodland behind. These are designed to be kept quite small in height, so semi-mature, a little shaggy, not like topiary, but more maintained than the mature trees are. Around the formal lawn area is wildflower meadow, and this is designed to stay long year round and just requires an annual cut in autumn. This contains buttercups, which are another of the featured plants, and provides lovely contrast to the sharp formal lawn and brilliant habitat for pollinating insects and wildlife, and it's also great fun for children to play in. Sinuous paths flow around this, and they are 2 metres wide and are accessible to wheelchair users and pushchairs, prams, etc. They're laid with breed and gravel, which was chosen to complement the buff stone of the Minster, keeping all the colour scheme harmonious. The visitor is encouraged to wander along the paths all around the garden, leading to various living examples of the leaves. Along the paths are several Lutyens-style benches, which match existing seating in the education garden, helping the two gardens flow together. The visitor can pause and enjoy the different aspect of the garden on these two. Lectern-style information boards are stationed next to the living leaf specimens, which contain information about how the plants were used historically. Just off the education garden is an existing pedestrian gate in the bottom left corner of the plan. This leads to the ivy-covered learning pavilion, which is a wooden structure, and that contains seating for a school class of 35 children. From this, a wood chip path forms an adventure trail leading through the woodland and providing an exciting route for children to explore off the beaten path. This leads through really beautiful woodland planting, which is enhanced in spring by an amazing display of bulbs, which will be a real spectacle at that time of year and hopefully encourage visitors to come along to view the garden. Stone plinths are dotted around the garden, which feature stone carvings of medieval beasts found in the chapter house. I suggest that these form part of the Discovery Trail. They also create focal points and places to move towards as the visitor explores the garden. The main access paths from the vehicle gate on Bishop's Drive and to the composting area near there are mown grass, which are easy to maintain. All the mown grass is shown with a dashed line on the plan. There's also mown grass under the large existing oak tree, which forms a place for 4 round wooden picnic benches. This is a wonderful sun trap and creates another lovely place to view the garden from. Just near there, over the path, are 3 double timber archways, which provide a place to grow hops, vine and rose. They create another focal point and feature within the garden and add a bit of height and adventure, and refer to the tall spires of the minster, pulling that down into the garden. When you walk in the chapter house, you will also walk through archways, and the wooden pergolas are designed to have that arch type feel to link back to the chapter house. Around the site boundary, I've specified a double planted hawthorn and blackthorn hedge, so it'll be a mixed hedge. This not only provides a living example signifying some of the leaves found in the chapter house, it also adds privacy to the bishop's garden and from the road, and reinforces the boundary, particularly on the roadside. On this slide, it depicts where the information boards will be and what plants will be grown nearby. So, for instance, the hedge, the first board you'll come across as you enter the garden is the blackthorn and hawthorn hedge, and the board will be just to the left of the entrance path. Again, the ivy hut will have the ivy board just placed outside, and this applies to all of the plants on the brief with the exception of white bryony and wormwood. There will be boards with details of those plants in the garden, however they won't be living examples of the plants, and this is because I don't advise that they're grown within this scheme. Firstly, the wormwood would be much better suited to the knot garden, which is in the education garden, and I advise that on the sign you could put something like, please find living example within the education garden in the knot garden. This is because this plant really likes sort of hot, dry conditions, full sun conditions, well-drained conditions, which because the site is prone to waterlogging, I wouldn't advise that it's planted there. However, it can be referred to and the visitor can then go and discover it in the education garden. Secondly, the white bryony is actually a toxic plant, and I wouldn't advise putting a living specimen of that within the garden, particularly because there'll be children and potentially pets, dogs as well, in the garden, and if they did eat the berries it would be very nasty for them. So again, I just advise that there's an information board about white bryony and its toxic effects, and maybe just a drawing of the leaf or a carving so that a rubbing can be taken or something like that. The materials, features and furniture used in the design are all natural and complement those already on site. Materials like wood and stone help the design to blend into the site, the existing site, and create a feeling of harmony throughout the garden. A selection of stone sculptures which are ready-made, carved out of sandstone, can be seen in the slide. I've just selected some which I think would be suitable. However, this is down to the client's choice of what mythical beasts they want in the garden. These are all to be displayed on plinths, which would be dotted around the landscape just so they stand out and kind of pop up to say hello. I've already mentioned that the Lutyens benches will be used. These are made from hardwood teak and are really durable and have a really nice classic look. The lectern signboards will just be quite minimal but really informative and contain a mix of illustrations and text. The archways representing the chapter house doorway can be seen, and these will be adorned with climbers and are also made out of hardwood, and there'll be several of these in a row. The the learning pavilion can be seen there. This is bought and made on site, so it's got a cedar shingle roof and contains benches which can seat a whole class of children. So it's a nice covered area, a nice covered space, and I have designed it so that ivy will weave its way up each of the posts and eventually cover the building, blending it into the woodland. And then you can see the round example of the picnic benches, which again are timber and can be moved and pegged down and can comfortably seat 6 people, and there's space for wheelchairs around them too. This is the 3D model of the Minster Discovery Garden. It's made from 100% natural materials, including wood, sand and paper. The first image shows the plan view looking down onto the garden. The second image shows the front view as if you were approaching the garden from the educational garden, and you can see the main path leading straight to the amphitheatre there. These photos show the garden from various different aspects, so as though the garden is turning round in a 360-degree turn. The first image shows a view as if you were approaching from the road, so you can just see the little inlet from the road into the garden. The second picture shows the view from the bishop's house, and you can see the pergola on there, the picnic tables under the large tree, and the mown path from the compost area. You can also see the inlet from the road of Bishop's Drive. And then the third picture shows a view from the woodland area, complete with the woodland trail running through there. This final set of photos show the finer details of the model and give a clearer perspective of elements within the design. The photos include close-ups of the amphitheatre, the pergola, the picnic benches and the ivy covered hut. And that's where I'd like to finish my presentation. I really hope you've enjoyed finding more about my design of the Discovery Garden for the Minster. If you've got any further questions, please get in touch. My email's on screen. My name's Emily Barnes and I've really enjoyed this project. Thank you very much.